Welcome back, my beautiful people, to STR News and Digest, your go-to place for everything related to short-term rentals, travel, and the business of hospitality. Today, I got a pretty decent show today. I got some exciting news I want to talk about. I'm going to give you more or less what we're going to try to talk about. But today, we only have about 30 minutes because I have to do another live for my other channel. But let me give you what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about today JetBlue and their new route. I'm going to give you some travel hacks because I've done a lot of travel hacks in the past, but I'm going to talk about some new stuff because things have changed and they've changed kind of dramatically. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how airlines are using AI. This is an interesting article that I found. And then we're going to talk about how Airbnb is definitely really trying to become another booking.com. Now, some of you guys that are not familiar with booking.com, let me refresh your memory if you haven't seen any of my videos on booking.com. Booking.com is actually larger and have been in existence much longer than Airbnb, but they are a all-in-one stop shop in terms of travel with hotels and short-term rentals, right? Airbnb really for a long time fought to be part of the hotel ecosystem. In fact, have you ever seen Brian Chesky talk in general? It's two things he doesn't like to talk about, right? Or he doesn't like to refer Airbnb to. One is alternative accommodations, because that's what most of the industry, that's how they identify short-term rentals. But Brian doesn't like that. And he definitely didn't want to be associated with hotels because he felt it's a different product. And in essence, he's 100% right. It's a different product. But like with any businesses or any business, sometimes you might as well join the party because you're getting left behind. And Booking.com realized early on that, and more so today than in the past, but Booking.com realized early on that they needed both, right? They needed hotels and they needed short-term rentals in order to be successful in the future. Because again, I've always said this, right? If you're not innovating, if you're not growing, you are dying and you're not going to be in existence for long. So I believe, even though they're late to the party, I believe this was a necessary step for Airbnb. So that's going to be the first story I want to touch on. And I want to expand on what they're trying to do, right? And I'm going to read part of the article, and it starts off like this. Now Airbnb isn't just about homes anymore. We already talked about that aspect, right? They want to be a one-stop shop. That's why they included services, and that's why they have experiences, right? But the company is expanding to its hotel strategy. And in the past, as I mentioned, they really didn't want to be associated with them. And then what ended up happening was they said, okay, we're going to use hotels as a filling the gap, right? In areas in which they didn't have enough short-term rentals to cover the demand. Then they were saying, okay, let's bring on some hotels so that we can cover the gaps in areas that we don't have the supply, right? But that has changed, as I mentioned, changed dramatically, right? They have made a massive move and I talked about this before, in boutique hotels, independent hotels, or motels, all right, eco hotels, unique stays, etc. Right? They expanded that network, and again, this is a big move against Booking.com, who has a big market share in this. So if you're a vacation rental manager and or a property owner, this means that you need to be evolving with the competition. I've said this before. You got to innovate, and you got to stay and continue to seek ways in which you can be competitive, right? I've said this before. I'm going to say it again. Long gone are the days in which you can just put anything on the platform and you're going to succeed. I'm going to give you an example of what we're doing, right? We recently purchased 2 properties. I am not I'm not into investing into residential homes anymore unless I get a great deal. Well, we had 2 great deals, so we purchased 2 properties. One property we're going to renovate, but the second property that we got a great deal on is the property hasn't been touched since it was built. When I walked into the property, it was like going back in time, going back into the 1970s. So, right away, my staff was like, "Hey, we need to do the new kitchen, new floor, new bathrooms." And I said, "Wait a minute, let's stop. Let's think about this." The way the property currently is, when I say it's like going back in time, I'm not kidding. And the best part about it is, though, it was the person who lived in it, who sadly passed away, never used. He was a single man. He never used the kitchen. I mean, the stove is from 1970. It still works. It is super clean. I mean, I was like, did he ever actually even enter the kitchen? The cabinets are in phenomenal shape. Point being is that we're going to make a theme out of it. This is going to be the 70s. I think the show was called, the 70s show. And we're going to base this house on that show, and that's going to be the theme for this property. Again, because we can't be just another 3-bedroom, 2-bath home if we want to be successful. We'll see how this plan works out. We'll see if it works or it doesn't. I'll let you know. But again, this is what we're doing. And again, this is what Airbnb is doing. They're understanding they can't stay and doing the same. If you're a short-term rental operator, you have to do the same. You have to innovate. You have to figure out how to expand and stand out from the ever congested crowd that we have. All right, next story I want to talk about is JetBlue. JetBlue just launched a nonstop flights from New York City, specifically JFK, to Houston. Now, here is what the routes are going to be. There will be 2 daily flights, and that's 7 days a week. So it's perfect for weekend trips, business travel, or any connecting flight to the West Coast, right? Sometimes flying from New York City to Long Beach, I've done that flight many times before. That's a long flight, right? So now you have the opportunity to break it up. You can take this connecting flight. And oftentimes when you have a connecting flight, the flight is actually kind of cheaper. Anyone planning to go to Texas, now you're going to have huge opportunities. And keep in mind, I mean, they were smart when they launched this, because what's happening in Texas, just like what's happening in New York City, Texas is one of the states that will be hosting the World Cup this summer. All right, next story I want to talk about is how airlines are using AI, right? And as it relates to artificial intelligence in the airline industry, according to the latest reports, airlines like Delta, United, Southwest, and many others have been implementing AI for a while. But this is how they're implementing AI. They're doing it or the use of it has expanded from a customer service only standpoint to operational standpoint. For example, the 3 airlines that I just mentioned, Delta, United, and Southwest, they're using it for routing baggage, making the baggage department or how they route baggage more efficiently. Since they implemented, they increased their on-time performance by a lot. It wasn't even close. And what they're trying to do is, or what they're trying to figure out is, what other areas within operations can they implement AI to make it more efficient and more importantly, more customer friendly, right? The other area in which they're doing is in cybersecurity. Airlines have had a lot of issues with cybersecurity and negative customer experience. So AI is now being built in to combat those issues. And it's interesting because I just saw Elon Musk, and I forget what podcast he was on, but he was on a panel and they were talking about AI and how AI, he's been saying this for a while. And when Elon Musk says something, I recommend that you listen. One of the things that he said, and was very interesting to me, is that going into the future, 20 years from now, which is the exact number he gave, you as the individual, you're going to be seeing or looking at retirement way different. Meaning, right now, most of us, we save for retirement, right? We save. Some of us invest in mutual funds or some kind, or the stock market. Some of us, like people like me, we're into real estate. But here's what it's interesting in terms of retirement. And you may or may not know this already. Right now, if you wanted to start a business, the best way to start a business is to go into AI like ChatGPT and ask it, to give you the top 5 best businesses to start from either where you're at or your expertise, etc. And they'll write you out a full business plan on how to do that, and then you can use that accordingly, right? Well, they're saying, or Elon Musk is suggesting, that in the future you're going to be able to do that with your finance. You're going to be able to go into AI instead of paying a financial advisor on how to invest your money and how to plan for your retirement. You're going to be able to go to AI and say, hey, I want to retire at 62. Create something or give me something that's going to allow me to have whatever number figure that you need to retire on. And AI is going to be able to provide that. Extremely interesting. Unfortunately for me, I'm 57 years old. 20 years from now, I may not be around. I'm hoping to be around, but 20 years from now, I'm 77 years old. I'm already established. I'm already good. So whatever's going to come about, it's not going to affect me. But if you're not aware, I am a grandfather. I am hoping that a lot of this stuff is going, not hoping, I know a lot of this stuff is going to be applicable to my grandson, right? 20 years from now, he's going to be 20 years old. So anyway, very interesting stuff there. And I forgot, guys, if you're watching, if you have any questions, comments, list them below. I see there's some, I can't read it because I'm on StreamYard and my screen is really small. I'll open it up in a second. But list any questions you have. I will answer them at the end. I only have one more story to talk about, and I think this is a big one, and that is your 2026 guide to your air travel hacks, right? In the past, for example, to find cheap flights, in the past, I often suggested that you travel during the week, specifically on Tuesdays or Thursdays, right? And on your return flight, let your return flight be either a Monday or Tuesday, something like that, right? It has to be during the week because weekends are difficult. Here's what the new study came out, right? Friday is surprisingly the cheapest day for international flights. So booking and traveling on a Friday is actually the cheapest if you're thinking about going international. Give that a try. I mean, I just happened to look because I was like, wow, that's crazy. And I just did a few comparisons to flying from here to Europe, here to South America. 100% it was cheaper to fly on a Friday. Next, I talked about it before. It was always cheaper or good to fly on a Tuesday. It's still very good because Tuesdays are still not high travel days, so you don't get the peak crowds. But again, the interesting part is that it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get the cheapest ticket. I think airlines are quickly realizing that because again, let's go back to the AI algorithms, right? Airlines and hotels are using AI to set their pricing, and AI does it based on demand, and they do it based on their algorithm and analytics. So if everybody's buying on Tuesday because they know that that's the cheapest time to fly, guess what's happening? AI is saying, no, let's increase the prices during the week, and let's. So now they're looking that right now Friday, surprisingly, is not really the best time to travel anymore, because people are either flying out on Thursday to get the cheap flights, taking an extra day. So now they're lowering the prices for Friday. Next is the booking window. I used to say all the time, it's going to, don't book so far in advance. When I say anything more than 4 months in advance, you're not saving any money. You're going to pay top dollars 4 months in advance. But the book window used to be 60 days, right? Right around 45 to 60 days is when you would get the best deals. But that has been reduced now to 30 and 45 days are when you will save the most money if you book during that book window. And then departure airports matter. So, for example, some airports like Fort Lauderdale, Orlando tend to have lower airfares than flying out of like Miami, for example, if you're in South Florida. So look to see, they may be like, I'll give you, if you're from New York City or in the New York City area, you have a lot of airports there, right? You have JFK, you got LaGuardia, and you even have Jersey, Newark, right? So look to see before you purchase your ticket to see which one of those have the lowest fares. And because for you, it's really a short ride, right? Newark, LaGuardia, or JFK. But for me, I'm lucky because I live in Fort Lauderdale, and Fort Lauderdale is the cheapest airport to fly out of. Blah, blah, blah. All right, that's going to be it for today. Let me see if I got any questions. Lorena, do we have any questions? Okay, what should short-term rental managers do with hotels competing on Airbnb? Great question, because number one, you're not going to compete against hotels because you have a different clientele, right? I've said this before. If you're traveling by yourself or maybe with just one other person and you're not staying for more than, let's say, 5 days, if you're only traveling, less than 5 days, let's put it that way, and it's only one other person, go to a hotel. You're going to get a much better deal in a hotel unless, you get lucky in your search and you find a house that's very inexpensive, or even an apartment that's very inexpensive. But for the most part, you're probably going to be better off in a hotel. Now, if you're traveling in a group, or if you have a family, let's say a family of 5, where being cramped in a hotel room is difficult, right? Then for you, it's cheaper to book a short-term rental. And or if you're traveling longer. I use myself an example a lot because I travel by myself a lot. And if I'm staying more than 5 days, I'm definitely going to book a short-term rental. Why? Because I need the washer and dryer, right? Because I travel with a backpack. So I need the ability to wash my clothes, but I also need the ability to do what I do here, right? Regardless where I am in the world, I still have to do these live broadcasts. And I still have to record and create my content. So I feel more comfortable in open space than just in a hotel room. Now, have I done it? Yes, I've done this last trip to Europe. A couple of times we stayed in a hotel versus a short-term rental because it was just so much cheaper to do so. But great question. Next question. What new routes has JetBlue launched in 2026? Oh, they launched a couple, but the biggest one is the one I just talked about, which is the Houston one. But if I'm not mistaken, they also added or they brought back routes to South America. But for sure, the new route is Houston. Next question. What is the 70s property you mentioned located? Okay, great question. That property is in Davie, Florida, which is, if you're not familiar with the Broward County area, it's just west of Fort Lauderdale, right? In fact, if you're familiar with the Hard Rock Casino with the guitar, it's right there. It's in that area. So that's going to be our 70s theme house. By the summer, it'll be up and running. All right, next question.
That's it. Everything's covered, and everybody says hello from Colombia, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, LA, and yeah.
Beautiful. Love you guys. Thank you for participating as always. Anytime somebody comments in the comments, those are the people that I really, really appreciate. Now, I appreciate everybody that watches. But those that go beyond that and liking and subscribing and commenting, I really love you guys. Anyway, my beautiful people.
Sorry.
See you guys.
There are something here that is, I don't know if you know this person, but I'm going to post the commentary because it's from for Instagram. Let me give you this. It's a little funny. Okay, I don't know if you can.
From Instagram, it says, "Oh, Michael, I was traveling with you, and you can pay for us both." Love you, Michael. I love that guy. Man, I haven't seen you in a bit, man. You got to come and say hi.
Okay. Okay, perfect.
All right, my beautiful people. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next week.
Imagine a vacation where every detail is tailored just for you. That's the Dream Vacations and Rentals by PMI difference. We're not just another rental company. We're your personal vacation curators focused on you, our guest. From hand-picked properties to curated local experiences, we craft personalized journeys. Our marketing reaches you with the perfect options, matching your unique travel style. With Dream Vacations and Rentals by PMI, your perfect getaway is just a click away. Visit our website to book your dream vacation today and experience the PMI difference.